She dropped the divorce papers onto the mahogany table, as if she were discarding trash. Her tone was emotionless. "You're of no use to me now." Just 3 days after burying her father, 3 days since I had held her, offering comfort as she sobbed into my chest, her body trembling with grief. She hadn't even waited for the earth to settle over his grave before doing this to me. I picked up the papers without a hint of reaction. No flinch, no breath. I just stared at the ink, her signature already dry. Then, in a voice as calm as a winter morning, I said, "Don't regret this later." She laughed. Actually, it was more of a scoff. Her eyes were empty like dead pits of greed. She thought she had won, but I wasn't surprised. Not anymore. This moment, I had expected it. I had allowed it to happen. Betrayal like this doesn't appear overnight. It simmers. It whispers. It builds. I'd been listening, observing. She thought she was burying her father. What she didn't realize was that she was burying her future. She never bothered to read the will. I met Lena a decade ago. She was magnetic, sharp, stunning, always 2 drinks ahead of the crowd. Back then, we were nobodies, struggling to survive on paychecks that vanished before the weekend. She often spoke of the ocean. "Someday, I want a house by the coast," she'd say, barefoot on our apartment floor, flipping through magazines we couldn't afford. I promised her we'd get there, that I would build it from the ground up if I had to. I worked 3 jobs, sacrificing my 20s to chase after dollars. Lena floated from interest to interest, never sticking to one thing long enough to call it a passion. But I didn't care. I loved her. I believed in her. Her father, Franklin Delcroix, was a billionaire, cold, as sharp as a blade. To him, I was nothing but dirt beneath his legacy. When we got married, he refused to speak to her for 6 months. He claimed I was draining her potential. He wasn't wrong. I did drain a version of her, the one that leaned on handouts and sweet words. I pushed her to build something with me. But money has a way of twisting people. And when Franklin fell ill, Lena changed. It was subtle at first, less affection, fewer conversations. She began staying out late, offering no explanations, keeping secrets. One night, I caught her smiling at her phone, a warm, glowing smile I hadn't seen in months. When I asked what was so funny, she claimed it was just memes. But she never laughed at memes. When Franklin passed, I expected her to grieve. Instead, I got indifference. She didn't cry at the funeral. She wore designer sunglasses and looked bored. I caught her texting during the eulogy. 3 days later, she inherited $379 million and handed me divorce papers. No discussion, no explanation, just cold paperwork and a smirk, as if I were some expired membership. "You married up," she said. "Be grateful for the ride." I didn't rage. I didn't argue. I watched, not her. I watched everything. Her emails, her call logs. She was careless, drunk on power. She had a new man, a corporate leech. Probably smelled like desperation. They'd been planning this for months. I found their messages on an old iPad she'd forgotten to wipe. Once the money clears, he's gone. LOL. He's too dumb to see it coming. That was when grief died. That's when something colder took root. Not hatred. No, that's too loud. I wanted her to learn, and I wanted it to hurt. First, I visited Franklin's lawyer, Thomas Reed. A sharp suit, sharper eyes. He'd never liked Lena much. "She has no patience," he once told me. "No depth." I asked about the will. He just smiled and said, "You're smarter than you look." It turns out, Franklin had set everything in motion before he passed. He'd seen the change in Lena. She thought she'd inherit it all because she was his blood. But she never wondered why Franklin started inviting me to lunch. Why he asked for my opinion on trusts, assets, taxes. Why he took an interest in my small investment firm. I didn't just marry Lena. I earned Franklin's respect. He made me an executive. Gave me legal power over the state. With one condition. Let Lena think she controls it until she proves she doesn't deserve it. So, I played my part, the quiet husband, the broken one, the one left behind. Meanwhile, I gathered emails, texts, screenshots, wire transfers. I even hired a private investigator to follow Lena and her new boyfriend. Turns out he was more broke than I was. A con man. Perfect. I started moving money, not stealing, but protecting. Shell companies. Trusts. Ironclad prenups that Lena never bothered to read when we married, because we'll never split. She signed everything without question. She thought divorce would set her free. It only triggered a clause that froze her inheritance unless I signed off on it. And I wasn't signing anything. The day of the divorce hearing, she walked into court wearing a white pantsuit like it was her wedding day. Her new man sat in the back, grinning like an idiot. I didn't look at her. I looked at the judge. "Are you contesting the settlement?" the judge asked. "No," I said, "but I'd like the court to review Exhibit A." Thomas handed over the folder, emails, wire logs, affidavits. Proof of adultery, manipulation, financial fraud. Lena's face tightened. "What is this?" she demanded. "Calculated deception." I replied. Her lawyer tried to pivot, but the judge wasn't buying it. Then Thomas stood. "There's more," he said. "As the executive of Franklin Delcroix's estate, I have a statement." He pulled out a sealed envelope. The courtroom fell silent. This was final. Lena's inheritance is conditional. The condition is fidelity and moral conduct within the marriage until the estate is transferred. Lena's hands trembled. "You're lying," she spat. "No," Thomas replied calmly. "You just didn't read the will carefully." The judge's gavel hit with a thundering crack. Lena stood there, mouth dry, eyes wide. "Wait, what happens to the money?" I finally looked at her. Really looked. It goes where it always belonged. She lunged forward. "You planned this." "Yes," I said. "You taught me how." Thomas laughed, not politely, but with full, open amusement. Her new man sneaked out the back door. People ask me if I regret it, if I miss her. No, I miss the idea of who she was. The girl barefoot on the floor, talking about the ocean. But that girl drowned the moment money became her tide. What I gave her was mercy. What I gave myself was closure. The estate is in trust now. Quiet, protected, untouchable. I bought a house by the coast. Franklin's name is on the plaque. He would have liked the view. As for Lena, she's still fighting with lawyers, trying to rebuild burned bridges. But betrayal is an art. So is revenge. And me, I'm just a gallery.